Let's start with a truth most people avoid. You're not losing control of your life because others are overpowering you. You're losing control because there are certain habits, quiet, subtle, almost invisible, running your behavior without your permission. And here's the part that stings. You probably learned these habits to survive, to stay liked, to avoid trouble, or to keep things easy. But now they're holding the wheel while you sit in the passenger seat, wondering why everything feels off. Ever felt frustrated but couldn't explain why? Ever walked away from a situation thinking, why did I let that happen again? Ever caught yourself feeling small, tired, or strangely disconnected from your own choices? That's not random. That's the cost of giving away power in tiny ways you barely notice. But don't beat yourself up. Most people do this without seeing it. The important thing is this: once you do see it, you can't unsee it. And that's where things finally shift. I'm not here to comfort you. I'm here to challenge you. Because you don't need another soft reminder. You need a direct call-out that wakes up the part of you that's been sleeping for too long. So let's expose the habits that quietly let others steer your life. Let's drag them out into the open. Let's break them one by one. By the end of this, you'll know exactly where your control slipped and how to take it back with force. Ready? Good, let's go. Let's hit this head on. The first habit is agreeing just to keep things smooth. And you know exactly what that looks like. It's when someone asks for your time, your energy, your attention, and you say, yeah, sure, even though every part of you is tired, annoyed, or flat out done. It's when you nod along, even though your mind is yelling, I don't want this. You tell yourself you're keeping the peace. But let's be blunt. What you're really keeping is a fake version of peace that costs you your voice. Every time you agree just to avoid tension, you pay a price. You lose a little bit of yourself. And the people around you, they start thinking your yes means you're fine, willing, available, or excited. Not because they're controlling, but because you trained them to expect your compliance. That's the uncomfortable truth. When you always agree, you teach everyone that you don't have limits. You teach them that you don't mind carrying the extra weight. You teach them that your needs are optional. But here's the twist. You didn't pick this habit because you're weak. You picked it because it felt safer than saying no. You learned that being agreeable avoids trouble, avoids discomfort, avoids the possibility of someone being disappointed. But now, that safety is costing you your power. Here's the empowering part. You can flip this habit fast. Start with one honest sentence a day. Something simple like, I can't do that, or that doesn't work for me. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be true. Every time you choose honesty over automatic agreement, you take a piece of your power back. Your voice doesn't return all at once. It returns every time you decide you're done saying yes to things that drain you. This is where control begins, with one boundary spoken clearly, without apology. The second habit is simple, sneaky, and more common than people admit. Hiding your real opinions. You know the moment, you have a thought, a reaction, a clear point of view. And then you swallow it. You tell yourself, it's not worth saying. Or, it might make things awkward. Or, no one cares what I think anyway. But here's the truth you need to hear. Silence doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small. When you don't speak up, you delete yourself from the conversation. You let other people define the narrative. And slowly, they stop checking in with you at all, because you've taught them that your voice stays hidden. And let's be real, it's not that you don't have opinions, you have plenty. You just keep them locked inside because avoiding discomfort feels easier. But easy doesn't equal freedom. Every time you hide what you think, You hand someone else the pen and let them write your part, and you end up living a version of life that feels too quiet, too passive, too detached from who you really are. Here's the direct wake-up call. If you don't express your thoughts, they don't shape anything. They don't guide your decisions. They don't influence your direction. They don't protect your boundaries. They just sit there, unused potential. But here's where you take your power back. Start speaking up in small, simple ways. Not to argue, not to dominate, just to exist. Say, I see it differently. Say, here's my take. Say, I'm not sure that works for me. Short sentences, straightforward points, honest expression. You don't need bold speeches, you need consistent truth. Because the moment you stop hiding your opinions, people finally start seeing the real you. And more importantly, you start seeing the real you. That's how control returns. Not through shouting, but through showing up. The third habit is one most people deny, even to themselves. Changing yourself just to fit in. Let's call it what it is. You adjust your voice, your behavior, your opinions, your energy, all to match the environment, so no one questions you. You tone yourself down. You edit your personality. You shave off your edges. You smooth out your fire. And for what? To avoid sticking out? To avoid criticism? To avoid being the one who looks different or too much? Here's the harsh truth. When you shapeshift just to blend in, you're not being accepted. You're being tolerated. And worst of all, you're not even showing up as you. You become a version of yourself built for comfort, not authenticity. And that version might keep things easy, but it will never let you feel powerful. Changing who you are to match the room is the fastest way to lose control. Because every time you do it, you send yourself a message. My real self isn't enough. My real voice won't be heard. My real presence doesn't belong. But here's the truth you need to sit with. Your real self isn't the problem. The habit of hiding it is. And here's the empowering part. You don't have to reveal everything at once. You don't have to be loud or dramatic. You don't have to make some huge announcement about being your true self. Just stop shrinking. Speak the way you naturally speak. Show your real reactions. Keep your original tone instead of mirroring everyone around you. Stand how you stand. Think how you think. Small actions, small shifts, massive impact. Because the moment you stop adjusting yourself for approval, you stop giving people silent permission to control how you show up. That's when you become grounded, solid, centered, unmoved. Fitting in is optional, but being yourself is non-negotiable. The fourth habit cuts deeper than you think. Letting other people's expectations set your standards. You'd be surprised how often this happens without you noticing. You push yourself to meet goals you never truly cared about. You follow rules you never agreed to. You measure your worth with someone else's yardstick. And half the time, you don't even realize it's happening. You think you're being responsible, but really, you're just following a script someone else wrote for you. And here's the blunt truth. When you live by other people's expectations, you stop living by your own values. Your choices become automatic. Your direction becomes unclear. Your confidence becomes shaky, because none of it is rooted in what you actually want. You feel tired, pressured, overwhelmed, but you can't explain why. That's because you're chasing targets that were never yours to begin with. This habit takes your power quietly. It doesn't yell. It doesn't force. It whispers, just keep everyone happy. Don't disappoint anyone. But the cost? You disappoint yourself. Here's the confrontation you need. Not every expectation deserves your effort. Not every standard deserves your time. Not every opinion deserves your obedience. You get to choose what matters. You get to define what success looks like. You get to set the limits, the pace, the priorities. And here's how you take your power back. Pause and ask yourself one simple question. Is this mine, or did someone hand it to me? If it's yours, own it. If it's not, drop it without guilt. Because the moment you stop chasing expectations you never chose, you finally start building a life that actually belongs to you. That's real control. Not pleasing everyone else, but choosing yourself on purpose. The fifth habit is the quietest power drain of them all. Avoiding conflict at all costs. You tell yourself you're being calm. You tell yourself you're keeping things stable. You tell yourself you're being the bigger person. But deep down, you know what's really happening. You're running from discomfort. You avoid tough conversations. You avoid speaking up when something feels wrong. You avoid addressing problems until they grow into something you can't ignore. And every time you avoid conflict, you hand someone else the authority to decide what happens next. Because here's the truth no one likes hearing. When you refuse to face a situation, someone else takes control of it. Not because they're stronger, but because you stepped out of the way. Avoiding conflict doesn't protect you. It traps you in situations you never agreed to. You end up carrying frustration in silence. You end up feeling powerless in moments where you should be standing tall. You end up accepting outcomes you never wanted, simply because you didn't want to make things uncomfortable. But here's the empowering part. Courage isn't loud. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't require aggression or big speeches. Courage is choosing one uncomfortable moment over a lifetime of resentment. It's saying, "This doesn't work for me." It's asking, "What's going on here?" It's addressing the issue instead of hiding from it. You don't have to fight. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explode. You just have to stop avoiding. Because the moment you face conflict head-on, calmly, clearly, directly, you reclaim your voice, your presence, your control. And here's the real breakthrough. When you stop avoiding conflict, you stop avoiding yourself. You stop abandoning your needs. You stop surrendering your power. This is the habit that frees you the fastest. Now that you've called these habits out, here's the part that actually changes your life. What you do next. Awareness is the first step, but action is the upgrade. And you don't need massive, dramatic moves. You need consistent, simple shifts that take your power back, piece by piece. Let's break it down. 1. Start with micro-honesty. You don't need to overhaul your whole personality overnight. Just practice one small truth a day. Say something honest, even if it's tiny. Something like, "This isn't a good time. I see it differently. I need a moment." These small truths rebuild your voice faster than you think. 2. Notice the moment you start shrinking. Pay attention to the instant you feel yourself adjusting to please, fit in, or stay quiet. That moment is your signal. You don't have to fight it. Just stop yourself long enough to ask, is this actually me, or am I performing? Choose the version of you that doesn't need approval to exist. 3. Question every expectation before you accept it. Anytime you feel pressured to meet a standard or follow a path, pause and ask, "Is this mine?" If the answer is no, drop it. No guilt, no explanation required. Your life doesn't need to carry assignments you never agreed to. 4. Face one small discomfort instead of running from it. You don't have to tackle every conflict at once. Just pick one situation you've been avoiding and address it calmly. One conversation, one clarification, one direct sentence. Each time you choose discomfort over silence, you build solid inner strength, real strength. 5. Build your inner authority. Here's the truth. When you rely on external approval, you lose your own direction. So start giving yourself permission. Permission to say no. Permission to take up space. Permission to be different. Permission to choose your own pace. You don't need someone else to validate your decisions. You need to validate them yourself. 6. Celebrate every small win. Don't wait for big turning points. Every honest sentence, every boundary, every moment of clarity deserves recognition. Why? Because these tiny wins are you rewriting your behavior at its core. This is how confidence is built. Little victories stacked on top of each other. 7. Remember, power isn't taken from you. It's returned to you. These habits didn't appear out of nowhere. You learned them over time, and now you're unlearning them. This isn't about being aggressive or controlling others. It's about taking responsibility for the space you occupy in your own life. Control returns the moment you stop giving it away. Now that you know exactly what to do to stop giving your power away, it's time to take the next step. Awareness and action on individual habits are powerful, but they only scratch the surface. Real change comes when you stop managing your life in pieces and start taking full control of the whole thing. It's about more than setting boundaries or speaking up. It's about redesigning your entire life so that it belongs to you, not to old patterns, expectations, or fear. That's where transformation begins. Let's get real. Knowing these habits is good. Changing them is better. But transforming your life, that's a whole different level. Transformation isn't some dramatic explosion of motivation. It's a decision, followed by consistent action. A decision to stop living on autopilot and start building a life that actually fits you. Here's how real transformation begins. 1. Redesign how you show up. Transformation starts with asking yourself one bold question. How would I act if I wasn't scared of disappointing anyone? Sit with that, because the answer reveals the real you, the version that's been buried under habits, pressure, and automatic yeses. Start acting like that version in small ways. One action at a time. 2. Build a life based on choice, not reaction. A huge part of transformation is moving away from reacting to everything around you. Instead of waiting for situations to push you, you start choosing your direction on purpose. You choose where you put your time. You choose what you tolerate. You choose what matters and what doesn't. When your choices come from you, not pressure, not fear, not habit, your entire life starts shifting. 3. Create standards that match who you want to become. Your identity grows from the rules you set for yourself. Not other people's expectations, not old habits, not what you've always done. Set new standards, clear ones, simple ones that support the person you're becoming. Examples. I speak up even when it feels uncomfortable. I don't say yes unless I mean it. I treat my time as something valuable. These standards are the foundation of your transformation. 4. Take actions that feel like the future. Your transformation happens when your actions match the person you want to be, not the person you've been. Ask yourself daily, what would the stronger version of me do right now? Then do that. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Your new identity is built through behavior, not hope. 5. Stop waiting for confidence. Earn it. Confidence isn't something you magically wake up with. You build it by doing hard things, by facing discomfort, by refusing to disappear. Every time you speak the truth, every time you set a boundary, every time you choose yourself, your confidence grows. Transformation is built through repetition, not perfection. 6. Let go of the version of you that's keeping you small. You can't transform if you're still protecting the person you used to be. Let go of the habits that kept you quiet. Let go of the fear of being judged. Let go of the identity built on pleasing, adjusting, avoiding, shrinking. Make room for the version of you that stands tall, the version that leads, the version that doesn't hand out power like it's free. 7. Own the direction of your life. Fully transformation is simple. You stop living by accident and start living on purpose. No more drifting, no more waiting, no more hoping someone else changes so you can finally feel stronger. This is about taking control of your life from the inside out. You decide the pace. You decide the boundaries. You decide the path. Transformation begins the moment you say, "I'm done letting old habits run my life." And you prove it with every action that follows. Let's be honest, taking your life back isn't easy. Changing habits, setting boundaries, speaking your truth, and redesigning your life will trigger resistance, sometimes from the world, sometimes from yourself. Here's the truth you need to hear. Challenges are not a sign you're failing. They're proof you're on the right track. 1. Expect resistance. Old habits die hard. People will push back, situations will test you, and you'll feel doubt creeping in. This is normal. This is part of growth. If it feels too easy, you're probably still living under someone else's control. 2. Face internal doubts head on. The toughest opponent isn't anyone else. It's your own mind. That voice that says, "I can't do this. I'm too small. It's too risky." Recognize it, name it, then act anyway. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. 3. Use discomfort as a compass. Every uncomfortable situation is a signal you're stretching beyond old limits. The tension, the awkwardness, the pushback. They're proof you're breaking free. Don't shrink from it, lean into it. That's where real growth lives. 4. Treat setbacks as data, not defeat. You will stumble. You will slip back into old habits. That's not failure. It's feedback. Learn from it, adjust. Try again. Every misstep strengthens your skill at reclaiming control. 5. Celebrate persistence. Facing challenges isn't just about survival. It's about proving to yourself that you will not be controlled. Every time you stand your ground, speak your truth, or act in alignment with your life, you reclaim power. Those wins, even the small ones, stack up. They build momentum. They build resilience. They make transformation inevitable. Challenges are not obstacles. They're the arena where your power is tested and forged. The harder the test, the stronger the version of you that emerges. This is the moment most people never reach. The moment when you stop blaming circumstances, stop waiting for someone else to hand you control, and finally step into your own authority. You've called out the habits that quietly stole your power. You've learned what to do about them. You've seen how transformation works. You've faced the challenges that will inevitably test you. Now it all comes down to one thing: ownership. Owning your life means refusing to let old patterns run you. Owning your life means acting on what you know is right for you, even when it's uncomfortable. Owning your life means choosing yourself every single day. There is no perfect version of this journey. There is no end point where everything suddenly becomes easy. But there is control. There is power. There is freedom. Freedom that comes from knowing you will no longer hand your life to anyone else. So stand tall, speak clearly, act deliberately, set boundaries, voice your opinions, face the discomfort, and refuse to shrink.